Welcome to the show. I'm your host, John DeBona, and I'm glad you're here. This is where we cut through the noise and break down the real issues facing our country. Today, we're diving deep into a critical topic that threatens the very fabric of our society, so stick around. Project 2025. This extremist agenda seeks to roll back 50 years of progress, especially in the area of women's rights and LGBTQ plus protections. If you care about justice, equality, and civil liberties, stick around. There's a lot to unpack. Project 2025, spearheaded by the Heritage Foundation, is a nearly 900-page document outlining a terrifying vision for the next conservative administration. It seeks to dismantle many of the rights and freedoms we fought for. In today's episode, we're breaking down some of the scariest lines and what they mean for you, your family, and the future of our nation. Before we dive into today's discussion, I want to remind everyone that the fight to protect our rights and secure a better future requires action. Turn Left PAC is leading that charge, working hard to push back against extremist agendas like Project 2025. If you believe in equality, justice, and protecting our democracy, head over to turnleftpac.org. Get involved, sign up for updates, and consider making a donation. Every bit helps us continue this fight and ensure we're building the future we all deserve. Well, joining me today is Kimber Watson, a local activist who's been on the front lines of the fight for civil rights and social justice. Kimber has dedicated years to advocating for marginalized communities, and today she's here to help us break down the dangerous agenda laid out in Project 2025. Kimber, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Let's dive in, why don't we? What exactly does Project 2025 propose when it comes to women's and LGBTQ plus rights?
Wow. Oh, John, that's like dang. Well, let's talk about women first, okay? I don't think some people just don't realize how detrimental losing Roe v. Wade was for women, and not just women, uh little girls, teenagers. The Project 2025 goes into effect. They say they want to put it in the states. We already see what's happening in some of these states where women are dying because they can't get the health care that they absolutely need. My thing is that we have to fight, and we have to fight like hell, um, to make sure that we protect every single woman and child in this country. And when people go to vote this year is not about voting for um it's not vote political parties shouldn't matter this time. It's about protecting women, protecting children. um and then when we get into the lbgt part of it, that just is even more frustrating, because it's like, who are these politicians to tell people that they cannot love who they love, they cannot be who they feel on the inside, and make their insides look like their outsides.
What do you think the potential legal and societal ramifications are if this part of Project 2025 is implemented?
Well, like I said, okay, so like I said, women won't be able to get out of divorce. They won't be able to get divorces. They want people to stay in their marriages, regardless of what the circumstances are. Then we have the LBGT community. They want them to not be married anymore, which is totally wrong. uh Even lately, you've seen Trump. Everybody's seen Trump just lately saying that you send your school kids to school for, and then they take them into the lunchroom, and then they turn them trans, and then they send them home for the day. um Seriously, that's just like not reality. Because trans people, they that's a tough decision for a trans person to have to make, to go through the surgery, and they want to take that away from them. They want to take away marriage between a woman and a woman, or a man and a man away. That's not freedom. That's not freedom on any level. Um, it's just the thing is, and I've said it before, it's just really draconian. It's really outdated what they want to do to this country. Everything they want to do is just built on unraveling everything that has been put in place in the last 248 years.
Indeed.
That
Indeed. If implemented, this agenda could see discriminatory policies enacted nationwide, stripping away protections for women and LGBTQ plus individuals in healthcare, employment, and education. The loss of reproductive rights, gender identity protections, and marriage equality are all on the chopping block. And this does nothing but set a stage for federal level rollback of the hard won gains over the past half century. Imagine living in a country where your family's very existence is denied legitimacy by your government. And right after the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about Project 2025's culture war against diversity and inclusion.
When I ran for Congress, we flipped more Trump voters blue than any other congressional race in the country. We did this by calling out the GOP's lies and speaking truth against their $1 million attack ads. I've now partnered with Turn Left, and we're taking the fight to the extremists like Marge the Trainwreck Green, Ted Cruz, and Josh Hawley, to name a few. And I'm asking each and every one of you all to donate $25 today to the group that is absolutely helping to send these jackaloons packing. It's time to speak truth to power and turn left.
Well, the authors of Project 2025 are explicit about their desire to wipe out terms like diversity, equity, and inclusion. They believe that these values are part of a woke agenda that undermines so called traditional American values like colorblindness and patriotism. Kimber, how do you think that Project 2025 uh, frames its attack on diversity and inclusion?
well, John, I just you when I was listening to you talk, I was just thinking about, I read an article, and I haven't completely sourced it but there's a company out there that's trying to take away inclusion and diversity out of their company right now. Right now, as we are talking about Project 2025, they're already trying to do this. We're already seeing what they're doing in the courts to try to take away people's rights. And the thing is like, so if you do your research and you pay attention to what's going on in the world, they call you woke.
And one of the quotes from Project 2025, it says that the next conservative president must delete terms like sexual orientation, gender identity, and reproductive rights from every federal rule, agency regulation, and piece of legislation. Um, they view the very acknowledgement of marginalized groups as a threat. I mean, this could
Yeah.
embolden states to pass even more regressive laws, effectively nullifying decades of progress towards equality and civil rights. After the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the war on science and public health in Project 2025.
Today, we have an amazing show for you. Join myself, special guests, and celebrities. What's going on, Ice-T? Andrew Yang. Somebody else was hopping on. Oh, hold on.
What's going on, battle?
As we roast GQP Jackaloons. He may not be a real businessman, but he is one hell of a con artist. That's what it is. That's what they got indicted for. Treason and sedition. And addresses the headlines of the day.
They must be held accountable.
Live streaming every night. I got more time in a friggin' court in a friggin' combat zone than you probably got in the military. This is Ojeda Live.
Project 2025 is especially hostile towards the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and other public health agencies. They frame COVID-19 precautions like mask and vaccines mandates as authoritarian overreach. A quote from the project says that the CDC and NIH are responsible for the irrational, destructive, un American mask and vaccine mandates. Kimber, how does Project 2025 plan to undermine public health institutions?
Oh, sorry, John. It just takes me back to 2020 when we talk about this, because we've already seen how Donald Trump handles pandemics. And, there's so many people that died in 2020 that didn't need to die. And the reason they died was because they couldn't get access to healthcare, the healthcare they needed. Um, and when you have somebody like Donald Trump who stands in front of cameras and tells people to uh, drink bleach, take horse medicine, um, and refuses to show an example for people on how to look out for others. It's so, I'm sorry, this is a really hard thing for me. I lost my husband in 2020, and I feel that my husband would probably have had a better chance of living had the country not been closed down and had the pandemic been handled properly. We all saw how badly Donald Trump handled the pandemic, um, and the way that he was trying to tear apart these pieces of our government while the pandemic was going on was just shameful. It was absolutely shameful. And even now, I mean, you know, I can't think of his name. The gentleman that was the head of the CDC, uh, he's still being terrorized for his trying to make things better. If you go back to the 12th century, people used masks when there was plagues. That's what they did. It's always been there. I mean, even in when the flu pandemic came in the early 1900s, people used masks when they were working with other people. Um, the problem we have is that Donald Trump and the Conservative Party keeps telling people that they don't work. Well, you know what? There's got to be a reason why masks are worn. Um, and there's scientifically they have to work. I mean, think about a patient that has something contagious and they need an operation in the hospital. The doctors are going to wear masks. The nurses are going to wear masks. They're going to wear gowns. They're going to cover themselves from head to toe. That's what they do in order to protect themselves if somebody has something, an illness that can be contagious. I remember in 2016 when I had a really bad infection, and every doctor and every nurse that came in my room was wearing gowns, masks, and gloves so they would not get what I had.
Oh,
So
absolutely. I
these,
mean, if the CDC and the similar agencies are stripped
mhm,
of their ability to issue health guidance, we're all setting
mhm,
ourselves up for disaster in the next pandemic. I mean,
right,
the measures weren't perfect, but they were our best defense, and removing them would only make us more vulnerable.
right, and you know, when you're going through a pandemic, you're already vulnerable as it is. But then when you have somebody that's trying to demolish safety measures that are in place, it doesn't make it any better. I think that all that was done during the pandemic, all it did was cause more stress on people. The elderly, the people like me that have autoimmune disorders, who have a lower immunity than regular people. All these people are going to be affected, and we may lose more people in the next pandemic than we did in this last one if they take apart this stuff.
Beyond pandemics, this philosophy could bleed into other areas of health policy. Think environmental health, workplace safety, and disease prevention. It's a gamble. Um, and Project 2025 is a wake up call for anyone who values justice, equality, and freedom in America. If you care about the future of our country and the rights of marginalized communities, this is your fight too. Kimber, anything you'd like to leave us with today? That's the conclusion of our show.
Yeah, John, the only thing I want to reiterate to the people is the one thing that's the most important. This is not an election about political parties. It's about saving our democracy, protecting the children, the elderly, the sick, and the people of color. We have to protect everybody in this country. And the only way we can do that is democratically, by getting out and voting to not go back, to go forward, because this country needs to go forward if we're going to survive. And that's all I have.
Indeed. Thank you so much for joining us today. Folks, visit turnleftpack.org to learn more about how you can take action and help stop this agenda from becoming a reality. The next election is not just about a change in administration, it's about the very fabric of our society. We need to stay vigilant, stay informed, and most importantly, stay involved. And stay tuned next for Ojeda Live.